1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey everybody, welcome to Extraordinary People, and I am Patricia. And let me start with a small introduction on my extraordinary guest today. So ever since I was a young girl, I would look up to Nada, even though there are only a couple years in age between the two of us. When you are a child and then a teenager, those couple of years make a big difference. I remember seeing her sun tanning in the backyard in her bikini, all the way to graduating from high school and then university and getting married, having her first child, who was the most adorable little boy. When she had her second child, a child born with special needs, my admiration for her had a twist. It grew tenfold. She was given this challenge in life, and she more than lived up to it. I saw my extraordinary guest today grow from a young, innocent, vivacious girl to a solid, mature, impactful expert in her field. I would even say she has been a blessing to so many families with children with special needs. She has made it her life mission to increase awareness that these children who grow into adults do have a place and a role in our society. She does it all with intelligence, dedication, and heart. And I am lucky to have her as an example to learn from and a woman to look up to. Let me introduce you to my extraordinary guest, Nada Barakat Khawaja. Welcome.
Hello, thank you, Patricia. I'm very flattered by this nice introduction, really.
It's just simply the truth. And
Thank
I want to ask you just a little something before we continue with our chat. What would you like to add about yourself personally before we continue? Is there anything that you'd like to add?
You know, my life has been, I've gone through in my life so many unexpected events that there's a lot of things I would like to say in concerning this issue. I think we will, as we go along the little chat, I will add few things.
Would you like to start with the birth?
You know, yeah, I would like to start, the few beginning years with my son, Anthony.
Okay. So this is your second son?
Yes,
who was
it's my
born with
second
special
son
needs?
who was born with special needs. And at the beginning, it was definitely obvious, because it was my second child, that there was something that he wasn't reaching the typical developmental milestones that other children his age were reaching.
So you didn't know exactly right when he was born?
No, we had a lot of medical issues with him, health-wise.
Physical issues?
Health-wise, yes. With him also, I had also some difficulties during childbirth. Okay. But then that is nothing compared to the struggle, the internal struggle that I went through, just like all other parents, go through. It's the internal struggle. What did I do wrong? Why me? What's going on? So did I do something wrong to have what happened? Especially when you have an unconscious belief, as if someone is punishing you, for an earlier wrongdoing. So many times I would hear people saying, for example, you and your husband are good people. You don't deserve a child like this. Or, a mother who would say, a mother who, I pray a lot, I don't know why God sent me a son with special needs.
Okay, let's rewind a little bit. Okay, so how old was Anthony when you realized, when you knew exactly what was wrong with him?
It's a long process. It's not something that you realize overnight. It's not something that you accept or even adapt overnight. You see the difference, but you also see the human part of it. You see that he is a child, just like all other children.
See, I just want to understand your state of mind, because sometimes if a child is born with Down syndrome, so the parent is faced with this problem right away, so they know right away. But I guess for you, it took a little bit of time before you really realized that there was something
I've
wrong
worked with a lot of parents who have special need children. And even when the child is born with a particular syndrome, it's a long process before you adapt and learn to live with a child with special needs. I know many parents who had a child with Down syndrome. It wasn't a process that was overnight, accepted.
What would you say was your first feeling?
It's certainly that of a shock. You don't expect, I never expected to have such an issue to deal with in my life.
Right.
And then, there's the anger, there's the stress, there's the also depression.
Is there fear? Because if I would put myself in your shoes, I think the first thing would be fear.
Maybe fear of the future, definitely.
Yeah, how to deal with something like this.
Yeah, but then you get to a point where you try all kinds of new therapies, new strategies. You get, at the beginning, it's a shock. Then it's maybe anger. Why me? Because of the unconscious, collective belief, that you must have done something right, so something wrong, so God sent you a child like this.
Okay, so how did you overcome this reaction from other people?
It wasn't easy at the beginning, definitely, but then with time, it's a healing process. Okay. With time, with all the actions that I did, I remember clearly when it was obvious that there were differences with Anthony. So when I asked the pediatrician, what should I do? He simply answered, everyone carries his cross, Madame Khawaja. And I'm like, okay, I'm carrying my cross, but tell me what to do.
Give me the tools to see what
I cannot just sit, and watch without doing anything. That's why all of a sudden, out of the blues, I went back to the university.
And you were pregnant with your third child at the time.
And then I did postgraduate diploma in special education in AUB. American University of Beirut.
Yeah.
And then this is how I started taking action, or if you want, facing the challenges, the issues that I was dealing with, Anthony. I just couldn't sit still. See that there's something different. And it was, and at the beginning he was extremely hyperactive. There were delays in, most areas of development. It wasn't easy.
You took
on a daily level.
Right. You took matters into your own hands.
Anthony is 31 years old now, and there was absolutely nothing at the beginning.
Well, that's what I want to get to, because you took matters into your own hands, because you're living in a country where you don't have any kind of, there aren't many associations that can support families with children with special needs. We don't want to discount the ones that already exist, but it wasn't as...
We've gone a long way.
Right, exactly.
30 years ago was something, and now I'm amazed at all the progress, the new associations, the new schools, the inclusive attitude that we are seeing all around, in the region and in Lebanon. So there's still a lot to do, but we've gone a long way, and that's real. I always feel that they learned with the generation of my Anthony.
Well, I think that's wonderful. That's a wonderful feeling to have. So he had an impact. So his
him and others.
Okay, so you went to university, and then what?
Then
how old was Anthony when you finished university?
I think
or your degree?
He was around 5 years old.
Okay.
What happened is that when I finished my degree, I received, many job offers when it came to education, but psychologically I wasn't ready yet.
Oh.
I think that...
what held you back?
After university, I had a period where it was, I would call it my depression period.
Okay.
But during that period, I wrote a book. I loved, I used to love writing since...
It's a very touching book.
Yes.
It is. I highly recommend for people to read it.
So in this book, I talk about all the difficulties that we went through, my family and I, with Anthony, whether it's finding the right school, the right therapist, the activities that we can include him.
But I just want to mention the title of the book, because this is very important. So the title is...
we will talk about it.
Okay, you want to talk about it later or now? Okay.
The book is mainly not only to show the difficulties that we went through, but also, and that's the main message I think that I would like to portray, is that the title is He is a Child Too. The main message is to be able to see the person, the human side of any person with special needs in front of you before seeing his disability and weaknesses.
Right. Is there any other books with this kind of title? I'm just surprised it hasn't been done before.
I started with this book, and it was in 2004, and it was still a very taboo subject then.
It was, I remember, yeah.
So it was really something when I wrote this book.
What was the audience or people's reaction to the book?
I've received so many calls from other parents, even parents who had a special need child, but the disability of their child was totally different from mine, and all of them would say, you gave us words to express what we were going through.
Exactly.
To express our
even
feeling.
The title, that's why I'm saying the title describes so much, so well, just a small sentence. And so you can imagine how the book makes you feel after reading it.
Yes, the book, it takes you through the path of that usually parents go through, from the shock, anger, stress, fear, depression, until adaptation and real acceptance.
Okay.
Actually, there's something that I would like to add here that I never mentioned before.
Oh, I would love to hear it.
I still remember clearly that when I wrote the last sentence of the book...
The last sentence, okay. You're going to have to remind me about it.
I felt like it was not only a psychological relief, it was a physical relief.
Okay.
Like if somebody was really holding me hard and suddenly they let go.
You let out all your emotions, all your feelings from the inside, is that it?
It had to, it had to get out in some way. And right after I wrote my last sentence, I called the school where I did my internship when I was at the university. And I said, you still need somebody to work there.
Oh, so that's when you felt comfortable going to work.
Yes. And she told me, send me your CV.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later, she called me and she said, come. So,
and the ball started rolling from there.
Exactly.
Because you've accomplished so much. We'll get to it little by little, but the way you're saying as though you haven't done anything, but you have done so much to work for this cause, if you want to call it, or
I like to see feelings or emotions affect. When I talk about them in the book, or even among other parents or colleagues, it's not, the issue is not to complain, but rather I see feelings and emotion like a tunnel that you have to go through before reaching to the light, before healing.
Right.
You know, so my book, you know, was a kind of therapy. I had to get out all the emotions before being able to deal, you know, with all the difficulties around me, before being able to give and work in the field of special education.
I see you concentrate a lot on society's perception on these children. And is this the message that you want to talk about the most, or is there something else that you...
Definitely. It's very important to change perceptions, preconceived ideas, stereotypes, you know, because when you mention the word disability, special needs, the first thing that comes to mind is pity, dependent, poor, unable to do anything, unproductive, not autonomous. There might be a lot of difficulties, but also with time you learn to enjoy and to live and to adapt and to find, you know, happiness, love, many interesting, you know, events. Even if you have a child with disabilities.
I mean, I can imagine you're already struggling with this at home, and to have the burden of society's perception added to that, it makes it so much more difficult.
You know, at the beginning, you're very sensitive.
Yeah.
Anyone in society, in public, who would do in social, you know, who would do a remark, it's very sensitive. It hurts.
Yeah.
But then with time, you just say, you know, for example, I always say, it's normal that people talk, that people look, that people ask questions. I personally do it if I see something different, or if I see something out of this, out of the norm.
Right.
It's normal. But then, with time, little by little, people would get used to seeing a child or a person with special needs in society around them, and they will end up talking about something else or gossiping about something else, you know.
Right.
I remember on many occasions, for example, it would be like, why did you bring him with you? Or, you know, or inviting my other children to a birthday and not him. With time, you learn to put priorities differently.
Right.
You know, you become unsensitive. You know, the priorities become whatever is good for you and your family, and not what society wants, you know. If they don't like my son being, you know, with everyone, they leave. Who says they have the rights more than my son with special needs, or more than any other person with special needs, you know?
Right.
So I think you adapt, you find happiness, love. Of course, there will always be a small scar, a small wound, but you learn to be happy, and you know, it has...
You actually mentioned, sorry, I'm interrupting. You actually mentioned that you learned to be happy with the little things.
Oh, yes.
The things that have a little bit more intrinsic value in life.
Yes, definitely. You know...
I can imagine maybe your son like walking and then smelling a flower and enjoying it. And I can see probably that gives you a lot of joy when you see him happy with such a simple gesture, a simple
you know, you don't take anything for granted when you have a child with special
that's a nice
needs.
way to put it, right?
Even the smallest milestone, even the smallest improvement is subject to happiness, you know, and relief. You know, Anthony has taught us so much more than what we taught him.
I think you concentrate on their well-being more than, like, a lot of people focus, they want their child to focus on achievements more than their well-being. And now your priority is more the person or the child's well-being.
You know, thank you for this question, because most of the time, in many social circles or with many parents, they take the attitude as if you do something or you don't do anything, the result will be the same. You know, things are not black or white.
Right.
You know, you end up working for the well-being of the whole family. You know?
Right.
And not he's not going to become the, you know, have the profession that is most
a Nobel Prize,
after, you know.
right? Yeah.
But it's the quality of life that has more of a weight.
Right.
Know,
so we're going back to the intrinsic value of life, of love and friendship, affection.
Unconditional love.
Right, unconditional love.
And I really believe that this is the most beautiful and noble feeling.
It is the best feeling. There's nothing better than unconditional love. We have to add that.
Tolerance, yes. Tolerance, accepting differences.
Right.
You know, the small details that usually people take for granted, they're not granted for us.
No, they're not. So you finished your book.
Yes.
You started working in the school.
Yes.
Please continue, because you've done so much other things. And
the book opened the way for other books.
Okay. This is I like these. They're very interesting. The other books that you.
Yes.
Yeah. So please tell us about them.
I created a series of. I call them children's books, but actually they are books that are, my main objective is to try, as I said before, to change the perception, the stereotypes that people have of disability, to work on the, you know, as I said, the way people view disability. So I created a series of children's books called Living with Differences. They were published through the Syndicate of Special Education Teachers in Lebanon. I was one of the members on the committee during 6 years, I think, or more. And
she's done a lot of stuff.
And they won in Anna Lindh Foundation Prize for best books on special needs or for special needs.
I also like this title. So living with differences.
Yes.
Not disabilities. So you're just unique in your own way.
It's nice to normalize differences. You know, who says this is okay and this is normal and this is not normal? We all have special needs, you know, depending on the situation, on the environment.
We all have our weaknesses and our strengths.
Yes, so it's nice to banalize, normalize, you know, instead of, it's something that could happen to anyone.
What you didn't mention is that children with differences contributed to the book. Those children books.
This is another book.
Oh, it's another book.
That's another one.
Okay,
that's I'm another one.
Okay. This one is by itself? This is not this series.
The other one was done. The other one I was sponsored by the British Embassy in Lebanon.
Right.
And it was if you want, a workshop with 12 students with learning disabilities.
Okay.
And we were able to put into this book 12 different stories.
That's nice.
They were saying their own stories.
Was it their own words?
Yes, their own words.
Right.
But in the workshop was a teamwork, and it was amazing, really, because there were two known writers in children's literature. So they took the stories of the students, students who are between, I think, 12 to 18.
Right.
And they, wrote, so it's, the story is called Stories by Us.
Okay.
And about us. Okay. They were given the opportunity to show and share whatever they went through. Plus, we had a graphic designer with us who helped them illustrate the book.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Another thing also that was in the book, it was, I made it dyslexia friendly.
How could you make it dyslexia friendly? How does that work? How do you make it dyslexia friendly?
There's many small characteristics that you can add in a book to make it easier to read.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, for children who have reading difficulties.
She's extraordinary, I told you. So, yeah, explain to me how a book is dyslexia friendly, because there's words, obviously.
Definitely, definitely, but it has to do a lot with the layout.
Oh,
the choice of words,
the choice of words.
Not only, the layout, the color of the papers. This is something very technical.
I didn't know that.
Actually, that I'm always invited. I have been invited to many regional conferences. And national workshops, with authors, illustrators, to present, to be a speaker on what we call inclusive and accessible books. Okay? So inclusive books means books, stories that include a character with special needs, with a disability. Because they were hardly included. That's, most of the message that I would like to give, to present, is that people with special needs should be included in all aspects of life.
Right.
Not only in schools, in social settings, but also in books and movies. And,
How did you see the children while they were participating in creating this book? I can imagine the process is so fulfilling and enriching as much as finishing the book. I can imagine their faces lighten. How did they react?
It was amazing because, one mother came and told me, you accomplished the dream of my son.
Really?
That was so touchy.
Yeah, it is.
Because her son had special needs.
Okay.
He had a learning disability, but he was excellent in drawing.
Oh, okay.
So he illustrated his own story without any small help.
Wow.
From the graphic
illustrator. And how did they view their final product? Because they know they
love it. Yeah. Oh, they love it. Actually, the book was also chosen as by IBBY, which is International Board Book for Young People, as one of the outstanding books for special needs.
So where are all of these books distributed? So you have your own, would you call it a novel? What would you call it? Not a novel, what would you call it? An essay?
Children's literature.
No, the first one that you wrote, your experience with.
He's a child too.
Yeah.
You can find it online, I think. Okay. It's available online.
But I mean, where is it mainly distributed? Which areas, like in underdeveloped countries or in all countries? Where do you see this, the success of it?
Some path, some, if you want, experiences are universal. I signed my books in Salon du Livre in Paris.
Wow, okay.
I also in Montreal. Also, I've had two known scholars in the field of in the special education at the University of Montreal who also ordered the book.
Right. See, my point is because there is already a bit of awareness in developed countries about this subject.
Yes, but
That's
some experiences are universal.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
The healing process that parents go through is universal. This is what I understood from...
It's human. Yeah.
Yes, you know, if your son catches a cold, just a simple cold, you will, you know, go through hours and days. I didn't dress him enough.
Right.
You know, he didn't eat well. So imagine the process that parents go through before getting to, you know, an easy stage, you know, living in...
You also started doing workshops to help these families.
Yes, I worked for many years as a coordinator in an inclusive school, in a school that, you know, has children with special needs, integrated, included in regular classes. And then I was recruited as a trainer by CRDP, CERD, Center for Educational Research and Development, as a teacher trainer. They were looking for all kind of therapists and educators, and that was also an amazing experience. So I stopped, if you want, the work in the school, and I started more and more, you know, going to do trainings for teachers.
Oh, for teachers. Okay.
At the beginning, it was mainly for teachers. And then I was also, you know, I started working also at the Lebanese University as an internship supervisor for student mastering in special education, and that is an amazing experience.
Wow, okay.
Being in contact with, you know, young,
the new generation,
fully ambitious, fully human, you know, to go into this field.
Different really mentality, I imagine.
Yes. You know, that was also extremely enriching. I'm still doing that, thank God.
Yeah.
And then the last 4 years, I concentrated mainly on working with parents of children with special needs.
I want to ask you a question about this, because you were mentioning a lot about society and how they perceive. What about parents who don't want to accept the situation, who they themselves have this stereotype in their minds? How did you deal with parents like this?
You know, this is not an easy path.
Okay.
You have to take this problematic in a global approach. Everyone, it's a teamwork. You cannot do anything alone. If I didn't receive help from, you know, different sorts of help, I would have never been able to get where I am right now.
The support of your family, your parents,
Yes, and it's not easy because sometimes even professionals, when you ask them what should I do, even for professionals and therapists, they have difficulties in telling you what path, you know, to go through. So one of the main, if you want, one of the main base, one of the main pillar that is, in my opinion, vital if you want to get somewhere, is a true collaboration, communication, partnership between professional and parents.
Geez, communication, that's key to everything.
Communication, being open about the issues. Honest, sincere.
Not to be afraid.
Yet at the same time, giving hope.
Okay.
That things could be better. Raising, you know, it's...
So is that how you can reel these parents in, the ones who don't want to face this issue sort of thing?
It's important. I work a lot on empowering parents throughout my trainings. Because as I was saying, sorry, I'm going back to...
No,
because the last 4 years I mainly concentrated on training positive parenting for parents of children with special needs. And I also lately did family coaching. Also, I took...
to add to your list.
It's a constant learning process.
I just want to add this, because you started family coaching during the lockdown.
Yes.
Because obviously there was a huge struggle for everybody during lockdown. Yes. Everybody was stuck at home.
Exactly.
So you took it upon yourself. You said, okay, what am I going to do with this situation?
Exactly. Actually, before doing family coaching, I went through a training myself. I went to London actually, and went through a training on positive parenting for parents of children with special needs.
Okay.
You know, I've always been close to parents.
Right.
You know, I started as a mother, but then I became a professional in the field.
Right, a teacher and an expert. What key points did they tell you so that maybe we can profit from your learning?
Through the trainings,
for positive parenting. I would say it applies to everybody. I don't see why it should apply just to children with special needs.
I think that the best compliment that was given to me throughout those trainings, one mom just looks at me and she's like, you know, because I don't present myself since the beginning as the parent of a child with special needs, she looks at me and she goes, it's as though you are living with us at home.
Oh, because you feel with them, you empathize with them.
I empathize, but it's also very important. Thank you for mentioning this. And this is one message that I would love. It's very important to see, when I say see the human part,
right?
You know, of the person with disability, it does mean offering them opportunities that you would offer anyone, any other person without any, you know, particular needs in all aspects of life. But also it means, you know, that they have to be responsible of their actions as well.
These children with special needs.
Yes, definitely, you know. Yeah. Because sometimes as parents, they might fall into the trap of either overprotection, you know, doing everything for them,
right?
You know, instead of allowing them to do mistake and being
more independent,
yes, exactly,
and responsible,
right? And sometimes there's total neglect. So it's very important, even though, you know, the child has special needs, it's important that he knows that he has limits. To follow, you know, that there's
just
consequences.
Like everybody else.
Definitely, that there are consequences he has to deal, or he or she has to deal with if he does not act, you know, as expected or as he was taught. Or
I can imagine that as you have to be very patient, because sometimes these children with special needs have certain reactions that are very trying. They are very trying. So I imagine how much patience you need to be able to stand strong and stand solid on your values. And
definitely. But you cannot imagine how, with patience and love, you're able to accomplish miracles with those children.
Right.
Just love them and accept them and provide them with the best opportunities possible, and they will surprise you and astound you, you know, in everything.
Just like everybody.
You know, yes, you know,
everybody just needs that, you know, unconditional love, and then they'll bring out the best in them.
This reminded me of an experience, you know, one of the experiences I've had with Anthony.
By the way, he is the sweetest. Like we say boy, but he's a young man.
Yes.
But I mean,
Exactly.
when you see him, he has the character of a younger person, but he's so sweet.
This is something, this is a story, you know, I forgot, but I just remembered it now, and I think it's worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
It means a lot to me.
Okay.
I asked, you know, I wanted Anthony to learn swimming, just like all other children. So I asked the teacher, the swimming teacher, to give him,
the swimming
instructor, to give him swimming lessons. And then, after a couple of lessons, he comes up to me and he's like, Mrs. Khawaja, I don't want you to waste your money. I don't think it's going to work. And I'm like, you know, I was very upset at the beginning.
Can I just ask a question before you continue? Was Anthony happy after his swimming lessons with this coach? How would you feel him coming out of his lessons?
You know, actually with this coach, to be frank, I don't really remember it. Okay. It was only a couple, you know, of lessons.
Okay.
And then I met someone also in the same club. It's amazing. Who is amazing with children. So I asked him to teach Anthony swimming. And that person respected him, respected his weaknesses, you know, was so patient with him, so loving with him, that after a few months, he was able to teach him how to swim. He was persistent.
So you were persistent, and so was the coach.
I believed in him, and the coach believed in him. You know, but I got to a point where I'm not upset with the first coach. You know, just like I tolerate differences.
I guess people react differently and behave differently to different situations.
Yes, I used to be upset. Now doesn't upset me anymore. Some people are more patient, are more tolerant, you know, to differences. It's like this, you know. It takes a whole.
And Anthony swims till this day.
Yes, definitely. It's one of his main hobbies.
Yeah, his favorite hobby. That's amazing.
He loves to swim.
That's a wonderful story.
So it's nice to. He's a young man now.
Yeah, he is a young man. How is he with his siblings and his dad? I mean, what kind of relationship does he have with his family?
You know, again, at the beginning, it was very difficult because, especially that when he was young, he was a lot, you know, hyperactive. He wouldn't concentrate 5 minutes on one game, so he was jumping from one thing to the other. Also, sometimes his brother and sister, you know, would kind of worry if they have to invite their friends home.
Oh, right.
You know, but then with time, their friends ended up being used to Anthony, to the presence of Anthony. You know, I remember my daughter was only 7 years old and I hear her telling her friends, that was amazing. 7 years old, and she's like, okay, I'm going to invite you to my home, but you have to promise me not to make fun of my brother.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but it's just the way you took. I can imagine her at 7 years old taking that serious face and saying that. That's amazing. By the way, she did the cover of your book.
Yes, exactly.
We didn't mention that. Yeah, which is a very nice cover also.
Yeah. But, you know, for them, it's probably, for siblings, it's definitely very tough as well. But
there's already so much peer pressure on them.
Yes.
So this makes things a little bit more difficult, but it makes them stronger.
Yes.
And wiser.
They end up being
what?
Exceptional themselves too.
It's true.
You know,
because you
growing up with a sibling with special needs.
Of course, it's an experience and education
Definitely.
all on its own.
Definitely.
That you can't have anywhere.
Definitely.
How do they see you? Your other children, I mean, not siblings.
I feel, they're proud of what I do, but also they're like, any other children.
Oh, Mom.
Yes.
They're like that, yeah.
Now they're grown-ups and they feel that they know better.
Yeah,
I guess they do in
they
their
do.
work.
Yeah, they all do. Don't worry, you guys all know better than their mom, or us moms. I asked you when we were discussing about this, and I wanted to write like something, and I asked you, I said, I didn't know how to give a word or a title to, and I said, quote unquote, normal children. And I didn't know how to differentiate, because I don't want to make anybody else sound non-normal. And so what term did you tell me to use for, or what terms should we use if we want to, I don't like the term politically correct, but if we want to be decent?
If you want, you can say normal developing children.
Right.
But then here I would like to stress that labels are so important, because labels shape the way we view things. That's why it's extremely important when you want to talk about someone with special needs, say a person, a child or an adolescent or an adult with special needs, in order to help people or society in general to see the person before seeing the disability.
Right.
To see the person, to include the person within other people, seeing that they have the same rights to be included in all aspects of life as any other person.
I'm going to ask a bit of a hard question, and I'm just asking just to be realistic about this. How do these children and eventual young adults with special needs, how can they contribute to society? I mean, you want to include them in society, so they go to school, they participate in social events and everything. How can they contribute to society?
Everyone has a role to play in society. Yeah. We don't only need people who are, highly intelligent and highly productive and,
Right.
It's the whole difference that make us richness, that enrich our life. It's the encounter with differences that is the best stimulation for the brain. It's only when you encounter difference that you realize who you are, what you are, the value of the things that you have. Giving is an important aspect of, being with a person with special needs. Giving and receiving. Maybe you receive back
values. They can teach us, I think.
Yes, you receive back values, abstract values, beautiful emotions that you cannot appreciate otherwise. That reminds me of... in most companies who have employed people with special needs in their company, they, almost all of them, say that the atmosphere that is present in the company is totally different than the atmosphere present before the company had people with special needs.
I didn't think there was such a not a high population, but a segment in the business world like this.
That's new.
Yeah, it is new.
Especially in our part of the world.
Well, that's so nice to know.
When I say they should be included in all aspects of life, I mean also that they should later be included in productive areas, in all kinds of, work environments.
So how does the work environment change?
That also needs to be worked on, definitely changing perception, adapting the work environment to meet people with special needs, you know. At the beginning, it might sound difficult, but you know, sometimes small changes could, you know, maybe the elevator,
right,
you know,
the
if
mail
there's
or something,
you know,
right,
the email,
right,
or they might take, for some people, you might need physical adaptations of the environment. For others, you might need adaptations on the work. They might need longer hours, not hours, longer
longer
weeks,
time to
time.
Okay, I thought you meant to achieve a task, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
to
okay,
learn
right.
how to achieve a task.
So
but
what added value do they have? So you said that the work atmosphere changed.
Totally.
What, like, was it more
when you
relaxed
talk,
in a way?
not only relax, you have to think sometimes out of the box,
Okay.
and then all of them say that there's
Oh,
a family oriented
okay,
approach, even though it could be a big company, you know.
okay,
It's a family oriented approach where there's respect
right,
and tolerance of differences, and the idea that it's a teamwork. It's not me only, it's the wellness of the whole
team. Oh,
that is
okay,
that will, you know, make them sparkle or make them outstanding when it comes to
and it's nice the way you put that. It's, you start thinking out of the box, so I guess the creativity changes also.
oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the title of a book,
Right.
No Greatness Without Goodness.
That's nice.
This is
Who wrote this book?
oh, it's a father who is at the head of one of the most prestigious, you know, big company in the United States, and he is the one who started. I will find his name.
Yeah, yeah.
And he is the one who started, you know, including people with special needs in the workforce.
How do you see the future of these children as they age? How do they deal with
you know, with all the advances in medicine, health-wise, most of these children will grow up to be adults in their 60s, maybe 70s, 50s, I don't know.
Because at that time, you
Most
become a little bit more dependent.
Yes. I always like to say that, you know, when there's love, patience, the impossible becomes possible. Actually, this is a new research, a new concern, because now we have a new community, if you want, that we have to deal with. That's why it's important to work on including them in the workforce, or also have some kind of facilities that can you know, allow them to be more or
I
less.
imagine them being productive is much better than having them being dependent on society.
Definitely.
So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Exactly. It's not, you know, when you work with a person with special needs, you're working for the good, for the wellness of the whole community. It's not the wellness of one person only. It's the extended, it's the family, the extended family, the community as a whole. You know, it's so much better. Maybe it will take a lot of patience, time to work, you know, since the beginning on allowing them and getting the environment to get used to people with special needs, okay, from the beginning, so they are allowed to be, you know, as autonomous as possible and as productive as possible within the community.
You have a TED Talk.
Yes.
It's in Arabic.
Yes.
But whoever would like to listen to it, I think it sums up a lot of what we were talking about today. And it's every time I listen to it, I come up with something different. and there's a lot of things that you say, even during our talk, there's a lot of little phrases that have really touched me from what you say, from your experience, from your thoughts, and from your knowledge. What would you like, after having talked together today, what would you like to add about yourself, or is there something different that you realized about yourself?
It's not an easy way, definitely. It is very difficult. It's an internal struggle. But, you know, with time, the initial question that you start up with, why me?
Right.
What did I do wrong? With time, it ends up by becoming, why not me? Things just happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this is a wonderful way to end our chat for today.
Yes.
Why not me?
Thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you for this wonderful episode and for
you.
sharing.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I'm sure you're going to be helping a lot of people with it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I would like to add.
Please go ahead.
It's very difficult, and as I said, it's not an easy road, but everything becomes possible when you have a strong support system.
Okay.
Whether it's...
So reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Yes. I'm lucky. I have had a very strong support system, whether from my parents, my husband, my other children. Maybe I lost a lot of people because of the presence of my son, but I also gained very profound, meaningful friendships because of my son as well. And then, yes, there are people who, you know, are not well-intentioned, but it's very important to see that there are also a lot of good people that are willing and able to help.
The ones that are unintentioned are obviously uneducated. A lot of times,
you know, people have their circumstances.
Right.
You know, it's not, you know, not everybody. Maybe our difficulties as a family was obvious. For other families, they might not be that obvious. You know?
said a little something, that the impossible. Remember, you said something. Can you just say it in your own words?
With a lot of love, patience, tolerance, the impossible can become possible.
That's
you know, the dream has to start someplace.
Yeah.
You have to, you know, dare to dream big, and then one step at a time.
It is a dream, and I don't like to use negative words, but you turned a nightmare into a dream come true.
Yes, there's one thing I would like to add before finishing.
Right.
We're going through a lot of tough events in Lebanon. Social level, economic level, security level. I just would like to say that my heart goes to all the families who are unable to provide for their children with special needs, who are unable, who don't have the means, who cannot afford sending their children for some quality time at their school, at their institution, and at the same time they cannot themselves, you know, have some respite care, you know, some quality times for themselves as well. So I'm thinking of, you know, trying to do something in that perspective also.
Wow. So this is your new ambition, I guess.
Yes, helping parents, not only in coaching, but also, you know, trying to find opportunities for parents who are unable to afford sending their child with special needs to schooling, you know, finding some kind of support.
So I'm looking forward to hearing some more good news from you. Thank you, Nada. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Patricia.
Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.